I wanted to start this video by saying this: as an aspiring content creator, it's our job, no matter how niche the subject may be. If mine or your content is centered on critiquing someone else's work, you need to know what you're talking about. In regards to whatever opinion I may hold, I need to back it up with valuable information. At the end of the day, it's not about a matter of opinion, it's a matter of facts. What are you able to prove in your argument? If you think a show is bad, you need to give reasons and show evidence why, just as if you was praising it. Now, you might be thinking, yeah, isn't that just the bare minimum? And my response is, yes. Well, at least you think so. But it's still 2024 and people still don't understand what the bare minimum is, which is fucking crazy. Since I started this channel, I always try my best to substantiate my arguments by showing examples from the shows that I'm discussing. So, it still baffles me when I see bigger and more established creators on this platform making a fool of themselves. If you click on this video and you don't know what I'm talking about, a creator known as A.S.K on this platform is getting dragged through all over the internet over his videos regarding race swapping, recasting, and reboots in modern day cartoons. And I have to say this, it's one of the worst videos I've seen coming out of the cartoon commentary community in a long time. Keep in mind, this video is about me bashing him as a person, it's about me addressing his claims in this video. As other creators discuss the situation, I want to share my own perspective on the matter. My message to A.S.K, if he's watching this video, is that it's okay to be wrong. It happens sometimes. I want you to use this opportunity to reflect on what's happening around you right now. I'm disappointed in your abysmal lack of research in the makings of your video. And as content creators, it's our job not to misinform our audience and to make well-researched documentary videos. Now, let's dive in.
So the other day I had an epiphany. I was scrolling mindlessly through my phone as one does, and I came across this monstrosity, The Fairly Odd Parents Reboot, and it was just as bad as I expected it to be.
Okay, we're only like 10 seconds into the video and I'm always seeing some problems. First off, The Fairly Odd Parents new series, A New Risk, isn't a reboot. The fact that you, a cartoon commentator, couldn't tell is really concerning to me. And that fact alone already tells me what I need to know about you and the content that you already make on your channel. In regards in shows, movies, comics, mangas, and cartoons, we have specific categories like reboots, spin-offs, and sequels, along with adaptations to help us distinguish which properties is which. A reboot is a narrative reset of an existing product or IP, intellectual property, with a goal of attracting a new audience, usually a newer generation. A sequel or a sequel series is the continuation of an existing product or IP, intended to maintain or attract a new audience. A spin-off is similar to a sequel, but it focuses on an existing character who wasn't the main protagonist, or introduce a new character within the same universe. An adaptation involves reimagining or converting an existing media product and transforming it into a new form of media, like adapting a manga into an anime. And finally, we have a revival, which refers to bringing back a pre-existing media property with a continuation where it left off from. For example, the new seasons of Clone High. Often or not, casual conversations tend to lump all these terms together as a reboot, even though there are completely distinct concepts. The Fairly Odd Parents new show, A New Risk, is a sequel/spin-off series that is centered around a new character who is Hazel, while featuring pre-existing characters from the original show, such as Cosmo and Wanda. Let's move on.
Look how they massacred my boy.
Mindless drivel plot lines, flashy art style, and an overt unfaithfulness to the source material.
Okay, I'm gonna pause again. You mentioned that A New Risk has mindless drivel plot lines, a flashy art style, and an overt unfaithfulness to the source material. Whoa, you made some strong claims. Are you gonna substantiate these points and prove your case by showing examples from the show you're describing? Let's see.
And I realized, these phenomena are not unique to the Fairly Odd Parents. These symptoms carry on to many remakes and reboots that have sprouted from Hollywood in the last few years, whether it's animated or live action, movie or TV show. And if this were just a one-off thing in media, I probably wouldn't be making this video. But this is a repeated cancer that is spreading to more and more properties, and is only destructive in nature. And so I gotta take the mantle and expose just what makes these properties so inherently bad. Let's go.
You've made 3 claims about the show you're talking about, but instead of providing evidence, you went on a tirade about the culture of modern day media and its reliance on reboots and remakes. While this is a common opinion, if it resonates with you, I want to encourage you to go above and beyond with your research to offer a little bit more comprehensive analysis. We do not want to see another video simply repeating the reboot bad narrative. So I hope you address your original claims later on in this video with concrete examples.
It was originally the Fairly OddParents Trash Reboot #1 that inspired me to make this video.
In 2022, the Fairly Odd Parents show, Fairly Odder, was released. From what I'm seeing, it was a live-action adaptation / spin-off series. It has received a lot of bad reviews. I never personally watched it, and I barely seen clips of it. So based off what I've seen and know, it doesn't appear to be a reboot though. I could be wrong. Wait, hold up, let me get a minute. Oh.
But now they went and made another one, and when it's animated, that's where I draw the line. I'm old enough to remember back in Yale 2016 when everyone was trashing the new reboot at the time, Teen Titans Go. Then it was the Powerpuff Girls, Ben 10 reboot, Rise of TMNT, the list goes on.
So if you were aware, around 8 to 10 years ago, it was easy to criticize Teen Titans Go at the time. I think Teen Titans Go will go down as one of the most successful shows that was equally hated. The backlash against the show was really a symbol for what criticism of reboot cartoons is today. I'd even argue that the term reboot gained such negative connotation was because of Teen Titans Go and other shows from this era such as Powerpuff Girls, which was no doubt a really bad reboot. But regarding to 2016's Ben 10, I can understand why some people might call it a reboot, but you could kind of argue that it's a sort of like continuation due to the fact that it was kind of explained within Omniverse that past reboots are considered canon within the show due to the authorization of celestial sapiens roping reality.
We all know that celestial sapiens change the universe as often as my client changes his shirt. Okay, bad example. But my point, and I do have one, is that celestial sapiens change the universe all the time. Why, even first thinker Asma's voice and appearance has changed on at least 3 occasions. For all we know, celestial sapiens are out there changing the universe at this very moment.
Guys, you see how I presented evidence to support my claim? It's almost like I have a high school education.
No one really respects reboots as an inherent property, especially in the manner that they're handled in our modern era. It's almost a safe opinion these days to say, ooh, Hollywood unoriginal, Hollywood bad. But when you take a deeper look at it, you realize it's not just about the unoriginality. These Disney reboots do more than just rip off the original for monetary gain. No. They actively disrespect the source material while they do it.
Well, he's right about one thing. The conversation about reboots being bad is a safe opinion nowadays, until someone like you manages to set up. The problem is that the term reboots are bad is simply a generalization, and once you start generalizing things, if you find one outlier, that one outlier can contradict your whole statement. And the fact that you don't have a clear verdict on what a reboot is, it's really easy for someone like me to debunk your point. Since you don't have a clear stance on what a reboot is, it's really easy to take your video and say something like any anime that's based off a manga is a reboot, but we know that's not true. And by the way, he mentioned the rise of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. If you're an OG supporter, you should know how I feel about that series. The show was literally great, it's just people like him couldn't accept change for once, and it led to the cancellation of a really great potential show. And guys, look how he claims that these reboots are disrespectful to the original source material that they're adapting, but the example he provides were race-swapped live-action movies of The Little Mermaid and Snow White. I've heard that people were upset at the casting of Snow White because she's Latino, not white, but I don't know if that's true or not. Wait a minute, hold up. Holy shit, chat, am I 3 for 3? But jokes aside, it's still crazy that you're discussing the concept of reboots being bad, then you bring up race as a talking point.
You don't find that suspicious? You don't find that suspicious? You don't find that suspicious?
Dang, that's very weird. I've watched plenty of videos on this platform about the concept of reboots being bad, and none of them ever bring up race as a talking point. And if you're the type of person to bring that up in this subject line, 9 out of 10 times, you might be a little racist, gang.
They have to warp the brand to their liking, whether it's for monetary, social, or storytelling purposes, if you really want to give them that credit. This Teen Titans Go syndrome has only gotten worse nowadays, because instead of just telling unfunny stories, modern reboots, especially in the animated realm, aim to purposely disrespect the original vision.
Okay, I don't know why he's trying to act like he's like the only person who's talking about this subject. As I mentioned earlier, you're just beating a dead horse, and calling it the Teen Titans Go syndrome just makes it worse. Dude, no one cares about Teen Titans Go anymore. And this is the part of the video that really got on a lot of people's nerves.
Starting off with the fact that the original creators don't want this kind of stuff, almost ever. We've all heard of how Steven Hillenburg never really wanted to reboot of SpongeBob, but ever since his late passing, Nick has capitalized on 2 already, with both thankfully pulling in little to no rating.
So we all know that Steven Hillenburg kinda allured to the idea that he wouldn't be too fond of any new reboots or spin-off of SpongeBob, but at the end of the day, since he's no longer here, we can't definitively know if he will like it or not. not. I don't know him personally, and you don't know him personally. All we got is anecdotal evidence from his peers that support either side of he would or wouldn't support it. So it's kind of strange to peddle on this dead man's word to support your point about how reboots are bad. If you don't like a reboot, criticize it for what it is. Don't bring up someone's name to get sympathy points.
Reboot is properly won by the creators, it usually does quite well, and actually delivers true to the vision. But when it doesn't, it's just a floundering attempt to show it was good and unique and cash in on someone else's creation.
Okay, stop everything. I find this actually stupid. He said that reboots that are made by its original creators tends to be good compared to reboots that are made by a different team altogether, and using 2016 Ben 10 as an example. This is fucking stupid because 2016 Ben 10 was made by Man of Action, the same fucking team that is responsible for any other official Ben 10 fucking series. And the reason I find this odd is because you predicated half of your channel towards TMNT content and Ben 10, and it seems like you didn't even watch your fucking shows. Like, did you chat GPT your entire fucking video scripts on TMNT and Ben 10? Because it seems like it. And I'm not even deep into either franchises as much as you are, but it seems like I still have knowledge that you don't. And it's not like I'm researching about these franchises. No, this is coming straight from my head because I picked up certain information while watching these shows. And I feel like a general casual viewer will still know these things. And like, it's kind of crazy. If you would have used Google for 7 minutes before making this video, we wouldn't have these mistakes.
Let's give it bright, saturated animation to the point where kids get a corneal ulcer. Why not? Kids like colors, right? I feel like everything I'm saying only relates to reboots post-2010, because prior to that, most reiterations weren't like this. Most were better than the originals, and actually kept gritty tones with cool brooding art styles. Now it's just a rainbow contest to see which show is brighter than the rest. Maybe that'll keep the kiddies in their seats a little longer. Let's make all the characters flanderized and dumb while we're at it. Kids connect to dumb people more, right? It also gives us a cheap way of actually creating humor. Stupid people are funny. These modern reboots just go back to square one while ignoring all the story arcs that preceded them, with a cheap looking animation style and much shallower characters. And they expect folks to be all on board and excited when they announce one. Don't forget to force memes and trends, disgusting imagery, and weird detailed faces. They'll often dish the grand arcs and storylines for a slice of life episodic show, bereft of any substance or long-term stakes. And look, I've made a whole different video explaining how being more mature or focused on story doesn't necessarily make a show better. That video gives a lot more nuance than I'm frankly giving here. But listen, part of a reboot is a fan service that you never really have to deliver to the original fans of the old property. You can't just say you're delivering something new for the current generation while abandoning the people who made your franchise what it is by watching all those years ago. Don't ruin our childhoods for your own creative laziness.
Okay, there's a lot to unpack here, so let me explain. The whole point to me for Reboot is to capture a new demographics of viewers. What viewers want, it tends to change over time. It's a trend. The fact is that what we enjoy growing up as kids is different from what kids right now are currently growing up upon. For example, I literally saw a TikTok of a 5-year-old girl saying that she only likes the newer SpongeBob but hates the older SpongeBob. I wonder why, because the newer episode for SpongeBob is centered and aims towards her demographic of kids. And that's what most people tend to not understand about these current runnings of these shows. You may not like the new reboot, but understand this, you are not a priority for them. It's like me, a person who's not lactose intolerant, drinking lactose intolerant free milk and complaining about it. My complaint means nothing because they're not aiming for my taste buds. Art and storytelling will always evolve, that's a fact, and the concept of what's good or bad will change with it. And the second portion of that video clip I just showed, when he talks about how newer shows and reboots just focus on slice of life instead of sterilized storylines, once again, why did he use Rise of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles as an example when you're talking about newer shows being more slice of life orientated? I watched the show, I reviewed the show, and I can tell you that there is literally an overarching story narrative across all the seasons. So once again, you made a claim, your claim being all reboots, or most of them, are focused on slice of life oriented storytelling, but you used one that didn't as an example. You literally proved yourself wrong. And the whole tidbit of, oh, you're ruining my childhood narrative is so stupid at the end of the day, because a reboot, like I said before, it's not for you. You may be the original viewer of that franchise or media, but guess what? They've literally abandoned you. You can watch what they're putting up right now, but if you don't like it, just understand you're not making it for you anymore. And let's take a break aside. The term "you ruined my childhood" doesn't make any sense to me, because at the end of the day, if you really miss it so much, you can still rewatch it, you can still enjoy it, you can still be entitled to the memories you have of watching the show. Nothing is ruined. For example, I love the Scooby-Doo franchise. I've watched almost every single series, spin-off, and movie that franchise set out, but I hated HBO's Max rendition of Velma. Unlike most of the shows you listed, Velma is actually a reboot. Velma is actually bad. Velma is actually a free lob when you talk about criticizing reboots of modern day cartoons. But at the end of the day, even though I didn't like Velma, even though they did so many decisions that it wasn't for in the beginning and still at the end of the show, Velma didn't ruin my perception of Scooby-Doo. It's called being mature. Just grow up.
It just makes you ask, why? Not to mention how they unnecessarily have to, all of a sudden, change everything about the show. I mean, no one wants to talk about it, but the current bandwagon is the whole race swapping thing that they all have to do with animated characters. April O'Neil, Timmy Turner, Velma, etc. Then there's the whole voice actress thing. Remember when Hank Azaria was shamelessly ousted from playing Apu in The Simpsons because he wasn't the race of the character? Because I do. It's almost like actors are supposed to portray things that they're not. Here's another shocker. This guy is actually not an anthropomorphic sponge. I mean, it's not just Azaria. This happened to Mike Henry too for playing Cleveland Brown. Alison Brie literally apologized for playing Diane from BoJack because the character was Vietnamese. Oh, so if a Vietnamese person has to voice that character and she feels so sorry about it, will she donate all the money she made on that show to Vietnamese charities? Or no, is it just a bunch of false outrage for a non-issue no one genuinely cares about?
And this right here is my main problem of this video. The topic of race swapping or whitewashing is something that I have planned to talk about on this channel and go in further detail with. I don't want to waste that topic on this video because I believe it to be a more complex and nuanced discussion. So I'll say this for now. Not only did you use a screenshot of gingers and redheaded characters being now depicted as black people, but this exact talking point has been used with anti-black or racist rhetoric that makes no sense if you look at it at its core. I'm all for representation for all marginalized minority groups within media, gay people, trans people, people with disabilities, and all ethnic people from different ethnic backgrounds. But being ginger is not a race, ethnicity, or nationality. So the idea that Hollywood is just committing ginger or redhead eraser doesn't make sense to me. No, it doesn't matter to me. Yes, there's a minute population of redheads and gingers throughout the world, but they have never been historically discriminated against as a race, nor systematically oppressed. Being ginger is like having blonde hair or blue eyes. You're just different. There's no exact history behind it. And just like having different hair color or different eye color, being ginger or being a redhead exists within all racial groups. And while I know A.S.K might not be trying to make this point, but showing that screenshot inadvertently suggests otherwise, and it does unfortunately come across as racist. In this rant about how actors are being criticized for not matching their characters as a one-to-one reference, although I'm against pushback for an actor who doesn't identify as the character that they're portraying, but I do understand that many minority actors often faces discrimination based on the color of their skin, and due to that, they're only limited to playing the roles they are. And it seems that white actors are given more of a free reign to act or portray who they want, and that's why you making this point makes no sense. There are so many racial undertones inadvertently in this video. Is at the point, just do better next time.
When everything is racial, that's the only thing I can see when watching. I never saw Blade as a black character, or Cyborg, or...
You know what it feels like to be judged simply because of how you look?
Of course I do. I'm a robot.
Yeah, bro, I'm just gonna know that dumbass shit you just said. Many of these black characters, especially from back then, were intentionally designed with the purpose of portraying a group of people that was historically underrepresented. And the fact that you, a cartoonist, cannot see that is actually disrespectful to everybody on all boards. The people who talk about this as a job, the people who talk about this for fun, and the people who wrote this. Surely, it can't get worse from here.
Gerald of Static Shock. A lot of my favorite characters are people of various ethnicities and racial tones.
The fact that you named Static Shock as one of those black characters that you never saw race with is actually abysmal. This is the same Static Shock that had an episode that was about Virgil being racially profiled by his best friend's dad and felt horrible because of it.
I don't believe this. You put a roof over their heads, you feed them 3 squares a day, and this is the thanks.
Richie wasn't the only boy who ran away from you last night.
What your son heard, Hawkins. I wasn't talking about him.
No, you were talking about his kind, that's all. Well, I know your kind, Foley. I've seen your kind all my life. A fine, upstanding bigot. His nose so close to the grindstone he can't see anything else. Meanwhile, the world changes and grows, and he's blind to it. Ignorant. And proud of that, too. And you know the worst part?
I'm sure you'll tell me.
You've got a terrific son. One of the best and brightest around. And because of the way you are, you'll never really know him. Richie ran away from you a long time ago, Foley. And who can blame him?
And when you start talking about your favorite characters that are part of many different ethnicities, you chose Uncle Ruckus from the Boondocks, which is a political commentary on the black community. You don't see race when you was watching the Boondocks, and Uncle Ruckus as a character is literally a self-hating black man who hates and is racist to other black people. And the concept of Uncle Ruckus being portrayed as what he is was executed so well that even in 2024, people used the term Uncle Ruckus into regard of a black person sharing or recording the same characteristic.
The black female Timmy Turner is clearly just a cheap attempt to reboot this property without any other significant pitches for change. I mean, for the diversity folks, there must be a point where this hurts the cause more than it helps it.
For the love of Christ, Hazel is not Timmy Turner. She's just a new main character. Timmy still exists within the canon of A New Wish. It comes off as you're upset that she's black and is a she. And it's even worse where the Twitter community notes is literally also dunking on you right now.
This video isn't just about the new race swapping phenomenon, but it's an extremely prevalent symptom of a larger issue, which ties into the lack of respect for staying faithful to the original property. Maybe Butch Hartman wants Timmy to be race and gender swapped, which is why he has absolutely no direct involvement in the creative department of the project. I find that unlikely. It's absolutely insulting to ruin a person's original vision of a character just because people want to see themselves on screen. These people are too uncreative to create their own original stories, so they need to ruin existing stuff to be able to call themselves inclusive and hip with the time.
He's only this big. How many diapers could he possibly use?
It's animated series, and it looks like this. It is called A Brand New Wish, and it's going to premiere this spring. When they first told me they wanted to do this, and they presented these designs to me, I was really excited, because not only will it have the same charm and excitement and flair of the original series, it's going to look a little different, but I really love these character designs. I think they're super.
Yeah, I think I made my point clear.
This absolutely also hinders the story and episode quality, as the main selling point here is the obvious element that's right in front of us, but no one's allowed to acknowledge it for some reason. I mean, watch a single episode of Rise, A New Wish, Patrick Star, or Camp Coral, and you'll see that. Even those shows are unfaithful to the source material. It's not just about the race swapping issue.
He keeps bringing up Rise of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. April was only race swapped because almost in every iteration of the franchise in the series, her character was always minute and didn't really matter that much. So swapping her race really doesn't change anything. And I'll actually love to go in detail on why I think race swapping characters like April isn't a big deal. But like I said before, I will save that for another video. But as of right now, as you can see, he's currently criticizing a new race without even putting out a specific plot point. He hasn't even mentioned a single plot line to support his case throughout the entire video. Everything you just said has been a repeat of what you said earlier, and doesn't hold any weight against A New Wish. From what I heard, the show is actually quite respectful to the actual original source material, and as I shown before, Butch Hartman is actually working on the show. So all your criticism doesn't exist. So all your reasonings for every reboot being bad is null and void. And last but not least, Hazel, say it with me guys, Hazel is not Timmy Turner.
Being unfaithful has different forms, and the reason I focus on that issue is because it's the most prevalent at this point in time. Maybe 10 years ago, the discussion was about a completely different form of unfaithfulness. Still, some shows suffer from that. I mentioned SpongeBob, there are plenty of other examples. I just despise seeing a person's work be disrespected when they likely sacrificed like hell to turn into a reality. And some studio exec can just demand a reboot of it for ratings and completely change the original character into something just to appeal to the bandwagon. In live action, you could claim that the actor's audition and skill level determine who gets the role, and that would be fair, but it's totally different with an animated character made of pixels. Although even that's under question these days when the new Snow White or Ariel can't even sing but are preferred over tons of other actors. I don't know, am I crazy? I feel like I'm living in the Emperor's New Clothes. People just disagree with this because it's the right thing to say or whatever, but most people would probably agree with these common sense points deep down. When a character is good, race shouldn't matter, nor should the new spin you put on the character, whether it's a gimmicky change in the age, the gender, the design more broadly, or their persona and attitude in a larger sense.
Okay, I actually full-heartedly disagree with this point you made, of course I do, but I'll argue to say that race can actually matter and race can help a character be more complex and layered. Look at Amazon's Prime The Boys, which is a live action depiction of The Boys comics, where every character is either race swap or gender swap for the better. Look at how the live action show portrays A-Train compared to the comics. Him being black adds layers, him being black adds complexity to his character, him being black add a level of depth that him being white in the comics couldn't even reach. And look at that, The Boys is a far significant better product as a whole than the comics, And look, almost every character is black now. Scary, right? And to add a little bit of salt to injury, they literally took a black character from the comics, The Deep, and made him white. And you see how no one complained because it made sense from a literary standpoint, and we got a better product because of it. Bro, yes, the boys aren't a cartoon, but if it can work in live action, it can definitely work in a cartoon. It just proves that race swapping a character is not inherently a bad thing as you make it seem to be. And everything else you said about a character literally does matter. It's an integral part of who they are for that story they're trying to tell. You don't understand that many characters have an integral design that the staff and writers try to portray to the audience, and that matters. It's all about giving a new feel to an existing old IP to attract a bigger, broader audience, in turn to make more money. It makes sense because it has been working and the results show, and people are still watching and talking about it. And just because of that, reboots, spin-off series, revivals, or whatever you want to call them, will always exist and it will continue.
Even things like the Lion King remake piss me off because they clearly capitalized on this and it worked by turning one of the greatest animated films in the 90s into a National Geographic documentary with the occasional reminder that it is in fact a Lion King reboot. When they're more faithful to the source material like Cinderella or Beauty and the Beast, it doesn't bother me as much. But I don't think Rob Minkoff and Roger Allers crafted the 94 masterpiece with their own hands just to expect it to get a live action CG remake when it's pretty much 100% animation or portraying real animals for some reason. God, it's all so stupid. Anyway, can't wait to see a Static Shock or Spawn movie, and while they're at it, it wouldn't hurt to
Haha, funny, right? He made a joke about race swapping the only known black Disney princess. So edgy, so quirky, how do you do it? You can tell the way I'm speaking, I'm really tired of this video, no joke. I watched the video like at least like 20 times to deeply understand his point, to give him a benefit of the doubt. But at the end of the day, it's just a bad video. And I want to get this video out as soon as possible. At the time of me writing the script, it was Saturday. Now it's Sunday at the time of me recording / editing this video. So hopefully this video will be out by Monday morning, preferably 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And so far, I don't usually make rants or reactionary videos, but if you guys like them, I will probably do more in the future. But to A.S.K, everything about your video was deeply flawed. Not only you discuss a tired topic, but you used the worst example to support your case. You might have gotten away with it if you used an actual bad reboot like Velma, a show that everyone hates unanimously, and I doubt people would have the same lens as they did with this one, because they don't usually care about defending shows that are like objectively bad. But since you picked one of the only good quote-unquote reboots that people actually enjoyed, people came with a hammer and it is what it is. So do better next time, and I'm your host Taken, and we do a little reviewing around here. Peace out.